And we're going live. 5. We should count down. It's like loading. 5, 4. I hope you guys like this anticipation that we're building here. Okay, I think we are live now on Facebook in the 90-day push. Welcome everybody to the webinar today. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up. Let me just make sure I'm getting weird notifications here. Okay. Really quickly, before we introduce our amazing celeb for today for all of you, I just wanted to give you guys a couple of updates. Corporate actually announced the amazing Summer Success, I think that's what they're calling it, program that's starting on July 1st and it's running through the end of the summer. It's really very similar format to what we're already doing. And it has some really amazing prizes and some really cool people that are bringing it content-wise. The format is on June 23rd, you're going to want to participate in the live training session. It's from 1 to 5 Mountain Standard Time here in Utah. You can register and attend live, or you can watch online. If that time doesn't work for you, you have 3 days to watch the recording. And then for the rest of the summer, basically, excuse me, on every Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, there's going to be a different presidential diamond who will be giving you their best tips and gems in terms of building a business. And you'll have, I think, some requirements, super easy, like do one event or one-on-one per week. And if you do what you're supposed to do, you can qualify to receive some really cool prizes, like $1,000 of convention bucks and different things. So rather than competing with corporate, we're going to merge and we're going to bring all the yumminess and all the goodness that we've been creating here and jump right into that program. So you do need to register separately. You're going to want to register through the EO Movement link so we can actually see who's registered and also add on some really cool prizes and incentives as well. And then we'll let you know how we're going to touch base, but we're going to get everything in order for that. So please make sure you go and register. So in terms of the 90-day push webinars, we only have 3 left. So what we did is we went and found the best people that we wanted. So we've got to have these people on before we merge. So today, I hope you guys really understand how lucky you are, because this is a person that I truly admire and adore. Since the beginning of my doTERRA building, I've been watching this man build along with his partner, Seth Rizame. And I just love the way that they think. I also love the fact that they are leading the movement for their families. So many times, excuse me, so many times we see women right at the forefront and husbands in the supportive role. And this is a situation where it's totally reversed. And I'm so excited for Rod Richardson to be here and to share more about that dynamic. But I think one of the things that I most love about Rod Richardson, who's, again, one of the top leaders in the company, Blue Diamond, massive team all over the globe. And you just had a new presidential, right, in or Ireland or Scotland or somewhere. Yeah. So cool. You're just all over. One of the things that I love about you is that your strategy to not only recruiting, but also sustaining and developing new leaders so that they can be independent from you and rock their businesses. So we're going to take a deeper dive into all of that. So thank you so much, Rod. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
Super excited. You changed out of your PJs for us, so thank you.
Put on real clothes.
Yeah, we have real clothes on today. Awesome. Another thing I just wanted to mention, if you have questions, we're going to get them, so put them in the chat box. If you're joining us Facebook Live, I'll try to moderate that too, but I'm going to primarily pay attention to the Zoom chat box, okay? So first off, Rod, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background before doTERRA and yeah, who are you? Why should we listen?
You know, I ask myself that every day.
Who am I? What am I doing with my life? Cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's see. I'm probably fundamentally an entrepreneur, and I had started and run a number of companies, and the one that was prior to doTERRA actually is the one that opened me up to the industry of network marketing, and that was a training company where we taught network marketers in almost every company you can think of using board game simulations and sales simulators. And so that put me in front of all kinds of corporations, their training departments, major leaders, regular leaders, new recruits. We were training almost nightly people in teams all over the U.S. anyway. And so that's what got me opened up to network marketing. And I saw there was successful people in every company, and I thought, and then I noticed there were commonalities among those successful people, and so that led me to believe, well, if I just do what they do, maybe I too could be a professional network marketer.
Right, it's what we all want to be, right?
Right.
Well, that's really, actually, I didn't know that about you. That's kind of interesting. I knew that you were an entrepreneur before, but didn't realize that was what you were doing. So how were you then recruited to move away from corporate into actually becoming what you said you wanted to be?
Well, I'd say that the major driving factor was a huge need. And so at the time, our company had gotten hit by the 2008 recession.
Okay.
And so our sales levels dropped by 90%. And we still managed to maintain growth, but one of our survival strategies was that all owners and executives would go without salary. And so I had been without salary for almost a year and a half. And so I started looking for ways that I could develop a side income that would allow me to do my day job, so to speak. And it of course ended up taking over. I had to get rid of the other company.
Right.
So there was the major factor was a huge need. And I would say that if people are having difficulty getting people to make commitments, it's probably because they haven't identified people's major need, or they haven't hit on, people are fundamentally simple, meaning that all of us are motivated by very simple things. And sometimes we try to make it overly complex, but really we have fundamental needs. We have to eat. We have bills to pay. We have families to take care of. We have fundamental things that drive us to motivation. And so I just happened to be in that spot, and it forced me on a real search. And I knew network marketing could be a solution. And it just so happened that Dr. Hill was my neighbor when I had moved to Utah. And so, and it was interesting because doTERRA was a startup when I first moved to the neighborhood. But it took me another 2 years of pain and suffering to start paying attention. And so
had he talked to you about it a little bit, or?
No, not at all.
No.
Okay. In fact, when I moved into the neighborhood, the whole neighborhood descended on our moving truck, and I walked into my bedroom where a group of men were putting together our bedroom, and somebody said, "So Dave, how's that startup doing?" And wow. He said, "Well, we were only supposed to go 18 months without salary, and now it's been extended." But he said, "We're hopeful." And wow. I didn't realize that was doTERRA or who I was talking to. But he did say, he got up and he took me around the house. He took me on a tour of the house that I just moved into. And he said, "I used to live here, but I didn't like it. So we moved down the street."
Well, must have some good vibes left over, right?
Right. So I lived in Dr. David Hill's house.
Kind of destined.
I was destined for this company, Kalli. Destined.
Absolutely. That is crazy.
And so,
yeah.
So you'd asked how I got in touch with doTERRA, how that all came together. Yeah. The major catalyst from that point, there was an underlying serious need, but the other thing that came up is our entire neighborhood got hit with the swine flu. And our neighbor that lived in between us and Dr. Hill was Kelly Anderson, who's presidential diamond in doTERRA. And she dropped off a bottle of breathe oil. And I was afraid of it at first, and Jennifer was not. And she found feelings of easy breathing within 2 days.
You sound like a pro.
And the rest of us were wiped out for the rest of the month.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was kind of our first, wow, that's pretty amazing. And I think through my work with network marketing companies, I realized that there was 3 specific criterias when you're selecting a business opportunity. And the first one that I had set was the value proposition of the product. And so this was one of the experiences. That one didn't impact me personally. It wasn't until December that Kelly had dropped off a lemon, lavender, and peppermint at our house. And by the way, she was sharing her doTERRA journey with Jennifer, my wife, this whole time. So every day she talked to her a little more about the oils, share what's happening in doTERRA. And then she dropped off the lemon, lavender, and peppermint, and I had some more than occasional gut.
I'm just curious how you're going to work this one out.
Digestive system issues.
Occasional digestive discomfort.
Right. And so that discomfort had been going on for about a month. And so I walked in and I decided to approach Jennifer with it because I thought maybe it would be serious. and I just said, I've had this discomfort in my gut for the last month. And she goes, oh, really? The neighbor brought off some more of those essential oils. And I hear that peppermint's really great for the digestive system. Would you like to try it? That sounded so much better than surgery. So, so I swished down a little peppermint and it soothed it right out. And by this time, I had started to, recognize or be attuned to the buzz of essential oils. And I realized that I was holding in my hand a product that truly had a true value proposition. And then the catalyst was Kelly's check had gone up to $800, and Natalie Goddard had just bought her a ticket to Australia to go spend 2 weeks over there laying the foundation of that country. And that excitement caused Jennifer to come into my office and poke me in the chest and say, I want to do this.
I had no idea that it was your wife.
Right. Then I told her, I said, give me a couple of days and let me check out the company a little deeper. And this has to do with my other 2 criteria. One is that the compensation plan actually rewards the distributor. And secondly, that the management team of the company is capable enough to maintain the growth. And so I spent the next 2 days with my business partners breaking down the compensation plan of doTERRA. We rebuilt it through our own spreadsheets until we determined how every penny was made. And once we did that, I knew that I was on the forefront of something amazing. And so then I gave her the green light. And we both joined together, I guess is the way the proper way to say that. I don't know that it was my interest in a network marketing company and her interest in oils, and then bringing me around to that. And then her and I made the decision and joined together.
You brought up some really great things, and I'm so glad that you did join because I've learned so much from you. I sit back and go, thank you, Kelly, for introducing it to Rod, because I've learned so much. You said something interesting about the compensation plan. A lot of people that join doTERRA, kind of understand compensation. I don't think that they're necessarily professional compensation evaluators in terms of really understanding what's out there. When people are comparing network marketing companies, what was the advantage when you say, is it advocate beneficial or whatever you said, does it benefit?
Right. Well, there's a couple of things. And I had just gone through our other company. We actually designed a compensation plan for. So we had consultants in our office evaluating every possible way to build a compensation plan. The first thing to remember is that most companies all pay out the same, meaning that the percentage ratio of payout is the same overall. It's the details of how the distributor earns that commission that becomes the devil. And so for the most part, every company is paying out about the same percentage, and that percentage will be anywhere from 45 to 50% of the gross sale is going into the field. And then it's distributed in a variety of different ways. And some of those ways are called unilevel, which is what we have. Some are called binaries. Some are called breakaways. There's different names that they have. Matrix systems. And these are different schemes, if you will, that distribute money, but some of them can be engineered in a way that they're beneficial for the corporation and not as much to the field. Or they might be designed to artificially inflate the incomes of some that can be promoted to the masses. And a really good comp plan will really have low barriers for the quote unquote middle class. and then also the major term that happens with corporations is called breakage. And that's where they create rules and compensation plans where they can not issue it to the field and issue it back to the company. And so one of the things that I've noticed is there's only one breakage point in doTERRA's comp model, and that is actually in the fast start bonuses and the power of three. And so in the power of three is not really a fair judgment because it's a bonus that can be earned if you earn the criteria. But the power of three bonuses that are not achieved, it takes such a heavy percentage that that if it actually it's not really a true breakage point because it's a true bonus. And the one of the fast start bonuses, that one, if a person is not qualified, meaning running 100 point and they're within the chain, then that say the enroller has theirs, and then the second person above them is dropped below 100. Then the 20% is paid to the enroller, and the 5% would be paid out, but the 10% is not. But the interesting thing about that breakage is doTERRA actually moves that commission to the bonus pools.
Really?
And so it actually helps to support and sustain the leadership bonus pools. And so all the commission is actually paid to the field.
Nothing is held back.
Right.
That's really great clarification, actually. I didn't know that. So I think you are the ultimate expert. And so I hope all of you out there feel so much smarter because, again, as you're looking to recruit someone like you, right, someone who has a background, it's helpful to know how we position ourselves with other network marketing companies. Why choose doTERRA versus others? And I think the fact that you said yes to doTERRA and no to so many of the others, including those that you were hired to analyze,
right.
Says a lot about doTERRA. So I think that's really amazing.
I truly believe that doTERRA will be the #1 network marketing company in the world. And I think we already see evidence of that. I think we're already number 5 in the United States, and internationally we're number 15. And I think we're rapidly growing. In fact, I talked to an executive of Nature Sunshine here recently, and he said everyone knows doTERRA is where it's at. And,
wow.
And so I thought, wow, what an interesting assessment, even from executives of other companies. It's,
well, and I think there's other companies that it's perceived that they build really fast, or there's always the new hot flashy thing, right, coming along. But I think for me and probably for you, we were looking at long-term growth that would be solid, right? And I think that's why you looked at the corporate owners to say, okay, are they capable? Are they an A++ team that can manage this long, sustained growth?
Right. That and the growth curve of the company on these rapid growth companies that you see. I mean, there's been a number of them especially around the weight loss industry, where the value proposition can be stated clearly and there's a huge demand up front. But usually a growth curve of those types of companies, you'll see a rapid 2-year spurt, and then the plateau, and then about year 7, they crash. And we've seen that with a number of really famous companies that were being touted as #1 direct selling companies here recently. And I probably shouldn't name them because of the video, but I could cover some of those specifically. But the thing is there's a rapid growth, and then there's not true sustainability in their product lines, nor is there customer loyalty or their value proposition of the product anything that's long-term in its sustainable nature. And so these, that becomes a really important factor, because the growth curve of doTERRA, we're at 10 years now, and the growth curve is trending exactly like Walmart and Apple. And so what that means in terms, that's real evidence of the true value proposition of the company, because we're actually following a traditional business's trajectory, and of major companies. Like Walmart, for example, is the #1 retailer in the world by hundreds of billions of dollars, right? And Apple Computers is the #1 most valuable brand that's ever been created. And its penetration rates run at 50% of market. And if you compare that, doTERRA has been trending as Apple.
Wow.
With nearly an identical growth curve. And that would mean if the state of Utah is the highest market penetration rate at about 5.5 or 5.6% of population. And so if we were comparing it to the Apple trend, then that would mean that we have 10 times the market share to acquire that we're currently at. And if doTERRA is successful at that, in which I am confident that we will see similar numbers to that, doTERRA would become by far the most successful network marketing company that has ever existed.
That is so amazing. And I think when you think about it and you look at it that way, in terms of, okay, we're savvy business people, right? People that are on this call. The only way to fail is to flat out quit.
right, basically.
Like,
right.
Hello.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you there's nothing wrong with this product. People want it. People are doing extravagant things to get it, and they're going outward and beyond. There isn't any reason you can't sell the product. And so if whatever you're doing isn't working, then you need to adjust your strategies, or you need to get help, or you need to get trained better.
Yeah.
And because it's not the product.
Oh my goodness. Right. The opportunities is before you, right?
Right.
Well, this is what a cool way to look at things and take that deeper dive into understanding the opportunity at hand, right? And I almost feel like it's a 10-year-old company, but don't you kind of feel like we've only just started?
Yeah. Especially if you consider international markets. We literally are just starting. And
right.
Every year we're just starting a brand new market.
Endless possibilities. And something else that came to mind is people say, well, what about, okay, 5% penetration, the Utah, that's kind of still amazing. I just thought, there are generations that are coming up, millions of people turning 18 every single year, right? So I just feel like you're always going to have a market. It's just a matter of, like you said, your strategy in order to find and help people. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about your strategy. So how do you go about recruiting? What does that look like to you? What do you say? What are you looking for?
Okay, so let me, there's a lot of varying philosophies on this, and I'll tell you that straight up, that most people, when they start this business, approach it thinking like a direct marketer. And in other words, you have a product and you believe that you're now a store, and it's your job to market and sell your product. And so you tend to approach it that way, and that's a direct selling model. And the important thing to remember is that true residual is found from network marketing and not direct marketing. And so you hear a lot of different things, like there's people that do well recruiting online, for example, and there's people that do various marketing strategies or types of things to try to gain leads, or they go and do trade show booths, or they go and do a number of different things. And these are all direct marketing strategies. And so it's interesting enough that you asked me that question, because I'm actually a purist, and I am a true network marketer. And so my primary recruiting method is pure networking. And in other words, I meet and develop relationships with people, and I invite them to participate, and some do.
Yeah.
And some of those people will build because they want what I have. And a small handful of those people will actually lead a team. And so if you break it down, I now have over 82,000 people on my team in 34 international markets in every US state. And I've enrolled probably 50 people in 8 years. And so if you think about what's happening, well, what happened? Well, I didn't go out and mass market my product. I went out and developed key relationships and invited people to build an empire and share oils with me. And some of them did. And some of them have built businesses, and a handful of them are leaders. And so that cycle continues. You know, I'm still making new relationships today. And I'm still, you know, even right now, I'm in the process of working with 2 high-level professional salespeople that I'm trying to bring on as team leaders. And one's in Texas and one's here in Utah, actually.
Cool. You know, Tiffany Peterson said something that has kind of stuck with me. She said, your network is your net worth.
Right.
Right. And I think that's the way that you built. You said, you know, if I want to expand my team, if I want to reach more people, I've got to network with people who have those networks. And right. And so even as I've been building for 8 years, and I think most people start with close friends and family, and which is just fine and great, because you can have some powerful networks there. But you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm out of my warm market. Now what? And you're saying, go make new friends.
Exactly. So prospecting to me is about expanding your network. It's about making new friends. And so I don't get up in the morning and think about who's 2 people I can go tell oils about. I think about who's my neighbor and should I get to know them.
Right.
And if I meet somebody out and about, it's about relationship. And it's taken me years, Kalli, to realize this. People are always striving. How is wealth created? How is it created? And finally, it dawned on me that money is an inanimate object. It has no response to anything. It is people that move money. And so therefore, the way to wealth and financial freedom is through relationships. And I can go back through my entire life, and every single opportunity and advantage that I've ever received was because I knew somebody that cared about me. Well, just let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, I am. I'm taking notes. I'm like, let me think about this, right?
I mean, I've had some amazing opportunities, and every single one of them was tied back to some relationship where I had provided value or had meant something to somebody else. And so the real crux of a daily job of a wellness advocate is to help and support people around you, and not be afraid to get to know new people. And then as it becomes appropriate, then making those proper introductions and inviting people to move forward.
Awesome. Well, let's go back a little bit, because sometimes if you move forward with the wrong energy, like you're saying, and you're not bringing value, then you end up being kind of a groupie of people and sucking people dry, and they kind of start to push you away, right?
Right.
So when you make friends, you're not leeching, be my friend, you're actually creating value in that relationship. So do you have a mindset process that you go through to make sure that it's pure and clean and good?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question, Kalli, because that's when we've moved quite a bit, and we finally built a home. We're in the neighborhood. When I stepped into the neighborhood, I didn't go through the neighborhood list and see who I could get into doTERRA. I allowed myself to be, and ironically, everyone here knows that I'm in doTERRA. It's somebody asked me on the street, what do you do? And then they told somebody else, and then over time, now my house is known as the doTERRA house. And so, but with each one of our neighbors, I always try to put what an individual's needs and interests are ahead of what my own are. And this is the first rule of networking. A person, matter of fact, if anybody wanted to study something that would be really valuable for you to do, is to study the art of networking. There's lots of great books. Like there's a really great one called Networking is a Contact Sport. And I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Paul something. But it's a fantastic book about just getting yourself into where the action is in your community. You know, where are things going on? On Halloween, for example, we set up our barbecue grill in the front yard, and I lined the whole driveway with chairs. And the first year, people were astounded that I offered hot dogs and apple cider, and that we set up our driveway so people could stand there and mingle. Year 2, the neighborhood planned for it, and the whole world like descended on our front yard here. And so and we didn't talk about doTERRA at all. But in that process, then the neighborhood got to see us as a family that provides value, and all of a sudden we were included in everything. And then that led to a number of things. And of course, now I have another frontline leader that's basically a result of that strategy.
Now, you said something interesting on one of the Facebook panels, Facebook posts with the blue page, because I think there's a lot of people. And I think you have to authentically build to what's appropriate for you, right? I think there are people on this team who are watching who authentically do really well on the Instagram and social media type thing, but they're really building a brand on those sites, right? Becoming those mini celebs kind of thing. But it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, right? I think you said something, someone was complaining on the presidential page saying, I just spent $30,000 building a website, doing all these things, and it's resulted in 0 results. And you said, for that kind of money, you should have just taken a cruise once a month. And met 30 people.
Right.
So like, that's what I would have done with that same money. And I think you have to, that probably would have worked really well for you to actually just take a cruise, be strategic about the cruise you're taking, specifically to networking and open up those networks, right?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I did an online strategy for a while, and I spent $3,000 and I brought in 10 leads, none of which stayed. One of them actually joined Young Living after it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. And then I just asked myself a simple question: how many family physician kits could I have bought and given away for the same amount of money? And it was about 30. And I thought to myself, how many people have I enrolled by simply giving away a kit? And I've enrolled someone for almost every kit that I've handed out. And most of the people that have come in that way are either builders with me or they're strong, loyal customers. And so I thought to myself, okay, I could have given out, let's say for taxes and everything, 25 kits. I could have, and even if I enrolled half, I would have had 12 loyal customers. And the other method, I architected a strategy. I spent $3,000 on ads and tools and different things like that. And I had 10 contacts, which I started integrating through, trying to get a personal relationship. One of them I flew out to New York for. She took me to 2 classes and then sent me home early and hasn't talked to me since. And so I looked at it and I thought, okay, what's the message here? And so I think the important thing is, yes, I'm currently studying online marketing for a lot of different purposes, and I do. So I'm not saying that those things aren't bad. They've supported my business in a lot of ways, and I think for the average builder, they play a role. And if you use them in the role of your business rather than as the forefront or core strategy of your business, it can be enormously supportive, because in order to succeed online, you're essentially creating a full-time job for yourself. I mean, you take one of my friends, Haley Hobson, which everybody knows. She has a big staff of people and professionals that help her. She pays out lots and lots of money to create the result that she's creating. She's heavily invested in time and energy and staff, and she's doing it on purpose. And that creates a thing. Now, if we're going to do that, then that's great, but we better do it like Haley does it. Be prepared to invest heavily, be prepared to make it your core strategy, be prepared to invest your whole time into it. And many of the bloggers that I talk to as well is the same story. It's a full-time effort of keeping yourself relevant and in your marketplace continuously. And can you recruit that way? Absolutely, you can. And it's just a process of weighing your current circumstances, the resources that you have available, and where is your money better spent? Could you give away books and kits? Or are you investing in an ad strategy, or are you investing in a booth strategy? All these three of these strategies have worked for someone.
Well, maybe we need to revisit this too, because again, this is where you are now, right? And this is where Haley is now, but you know, a lot of these people are brand new. So if we're brand new, you know, what are things that you can recommend? Hey, if you're brand new, do this, not that. If you're brand new,
I would say
if
you're brand new, this is the one thing that will serve you your entire life. And that is simply to write down the names of the people that you know and let them know what you do. And when you look at that list, don't look at it as your contact list, look at it as your network. And your network never leaves you. I always thought that was funny when people say, well, I've burned through my warm market. I'm going, really? So your mom doesn't know you anymore. Your brother doesn't know you. Your neighbor doesn't know you. No, of course, that's ridiculous. They know you, and they will know you till the day you die. And so when you have a list, that is your network. And your job is to expand your network. And so as you add names, if you network correctly, your network should be able to deliver to you new leads and contacts. So for example, my mother-in-law is a six-figure silver. And she tells me every time I talk to her that she can't do this business. Six-figure earner in doTERRA. Can't do this business. But what she did do is I would turn around and say, okay, Mom, who do you know that I can teach about oils? And she'd get on the phone, call a friend, and arrange an appointment for me. And I would run around, and she's delivered probably 6 contacts a year. Okay?
Wow.
So think about that. Your list is your permanent list. And instead of being your contact list, it is your personal sales force.
Well, and if you look at it, sometimes we just look at a name, but every one of those people has a network that could represent 500, 10,000, 100,000 people, right?
Right.
And so it's just a matter of helping to break into those networks. Part of it is, you know, let's talk about you as a person, right? If you're going around gossiping, toxic, you're a drag to be with, you're always complaining about your life and different things, it's going to be really hard for people to turn over names to you, right?
Right.
So I think that's why that personal development piece kind of comes in, building that rapport, adding value first and foremost, before you're like, hey, hand me over your names, right? And coming from that spirit of service. So really quickly, you talked about something really profound at one of the conferences I went to regarding faith versus fear or guilt and how you move forward. Mm-hmm. Do you remember this piece?
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that. Right. So I developed a model called the gratitude meter, and basically it's a mode of operating where you picture in front of your face a meter, like a gas gauge in your car. Okay, if you're picturing it's got a little meter. On one side, it points to gratitude, and at the other side, it points to judgment. And so as you enter situations in your life, that meter is either tending towards gratitude or it's trending towards judgment. For example, you get a nasty call from a team member. Your meter probably pegs judgment instantly. And judgment reflects directly above pride. And pride, of course, is the ultimate destructive power. In other words, it destroys relationships. It sets yourself above others. It's everything negative. Okay. Now, gratitude, on the other hand, sets the environment for the spirit of love and faith. And in that spirit, it's very difficult to hate you. And if you think about it, everything good stems from that. Humility is the direct reflection of gratitude. And so when you approach something in humility, you'll find that it almost always diffuses everything. And it also brings you to your purest state and of operating. It allows the spirit of love to flow through you. And you'll find that teams that are built on that type of culture are amazing. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some statistic somewhere that said that those people live forever.
Amazing. Well, I think about level 5 leadership or good to great or any of those statistical, right, evaluations of leaders. Dave Sterling fits right in there, of that leading with humility, love, gratitude, and then combining it with grit, right, and seeing it to completion. Like, it's such a beautiful piece that you're bringing in. So play this out to me in a situation, like a real situation. So you're moving forward in your doTERRA business. When's the last time you had to use this gauge? Because I think I need to use it all day long.
It's a daily thing. And in fact, if you forget about it, which most of us do, you'll find yourself sinking into a deeper and deeper level of despair. And gratitude is really the key through all hardship. And I gained this knowledge not just through doTERRA, but prior to doTERRA, in extreme financial conditions and things like that, where there's a lot of tension and a lot of stress, a lot of reason to be mad and angry, different things like that. And what I learned to do is I would start with my hand. I would stick my hand out in front, and then I would just start flexing my fingers. And then I would just say to myself, I'm so grateful that I have a hand and that my fingers can move, and that it gives me the ability to grab things. And then I would just go up my body. I'd say, I'm so grateful that I have an arm, and that my arm moves, and that it's pain-free, and that it allows me to do easy tasks. And then I would go around my house, actually, and I would look at just common things like a window, and I'd say, I'm so grateful that I have a window that allows me to see outside, but is protecting me from the elements. And I found that even in my most dire circumstances, I still had more than I could list of things to be grateful for. And in that spirit, it actually shifted my entire mindset to a point where I realized that you can actually train your brain to think that way continuously. And I had an experience where I realized that I was driving through Colorado, and I came up over a hill on a back road, and there was a dead tree on the side of the road. And just all of a sudden, I just had an emotion just wash over me. I mean, it just went from my head all the way to my feet and caused tears to come out of my eyes. And it was just a feeling of utter and sheer and pure gratitude for the existence of that tree. And then it happened again 2 weeks later in a parking lot. I saw a blue Suburban pull up behind me, and the sun hit the blue paint, and it just like glistened this glorious blue. And all of a sudden I had that same overwhelming emotion pile over me. And I thought to myself, what is going on? Why would blue paint or a dead tree fill me with such immeasurable joy? And I realized it was because I'd been constantly training myself to flip that gratitude meter over into a state until my mind automatically goes to that space. Even when I have negative events, like people call me up and they'll say negative things, my tendency is to throw the meter to judgment, right? It's like the nerve of them. What are they thinking? Why would do they not realize what I do for them? Blah, 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 blah. And then putting a stopgap on myself and forcing me to say, okay, what is there about this person that I'm grateful for? And I found that through some of my most trying leadership experiences, that it's the true depth of drama and hate that has come at me in various circumstances. And this principle that has allowed me to be truly most grateful for those experiences, because that is what truly taught me how to be a leader and how to lead in love, regardless of people's shortcomings and things that they bring to the table. And
what a beautiful and inspiring piece, Rod. And again, I just think what comes to mind is, when I get stressed or in that judgment or ego, what can happen, right, in a marriage or with kids or running a business, all of a sudden the possibilities that I see in my mind, I notice shut down, and my world caves in, and I see less and less solutions, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, Marie Forleo says everything is figure outable. And if you can get into that habit of switching into gratitude, don't you find that your mind expands and your vision of possibilities, and you can figure things out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Solutions come a lot by inspiration. And if you really want to tap into the power of inspiration, then learn how to flow in the spirit of gratitude.
What a beautiful piece. Do you have time for one more question or a few more questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. I love that. I want to snip that and post that everywhere. Okay. That was beautiful. Okay. So I want to know, when you get a new builder, you mentioned something in the Diamond, at the last leadership in the Diamond group, about how do I phrase this right? What is the time commitment and the travel commitment when you found a legitimate builder who wants to build? How much time and resources do you actually invest into helping them develop into a leader, or do you just enroll them and say, see you at Diamond?
No, absolutely not. I mean, definitely, I have a phrase that I've developed, and it simply goes like this, and I call these phrases anchor wisdoms. Okay, so here's the anchor wisdom. It is my operating mantra. I invite everyone, I work with those that move towards me, and I mentor the committed. Now think about that and how that breaks down. Who do I exclude from inviting?
Nobody.
I invite everyone. How do I know whether or not to invest energy into them? I work with those that move towards me. And so is a person coming towards you, or are they moving away from you? Or are they hiding from you? And in that group, I match their energy. If they're coming at me with partial commitment, then I return to them partial support. Then it comes to, who do I invest in heavily? I mentor the committed. And so people that exhibit high levels of commitment are the people that I invest my time and energy and resources into. And the higher level of that commitment and the more effective they are, remember, commitment is not just a declaration. It's also an action, and it's also a result. And so based on action and result will determine how much time and energy I can put into an individual. And so when it comes to traveling a long distance, I tend to err on the side of belief more than results. And that's okay.
Well, everything has to start that way, right?
Right. That's okay. I've been successful that way. So
you have to start with a seed.
Right.
You nurture.
I have wasted a trip or two. I mean, I flew to Ireland for a no-show and a quitting, meaning I flew to the country, drove halfway across the country in a rental car to get the text message that the class was canceled and that they weren't going to build anymore.
Wow.
And so I have invested on faith at times, and I'll just say, as long as somebody is demonstrating a willingness, you can, and you're in it for the long haul, you're going to have some losses here and there, but it's not the end of the world. It's how it goes.
Well, and you gain wisdom, right? Through all of it. And to me, it's almost like it's not necessarily a loss. It's the price that you pay to become who you are where you're at, right? And it could have been seen as a total waste, but you weren't strung along for 20 years with this person.
Right.
It could have been a lot more expensive, right? And so, okay, so that cost me, a couple grand to figure out that I'm not going to be committed the rest of my life to this person. So I don't know. It can all you can shift it all to gratitude, right? Well, that is beautiful. I think if you're okay, you were so gracious with your time. I'm going to see if anyone else has any questions. You guys post away in the chat box. One question we have is, where do you draw the line in reconnecting with past leads before it's considered harassment? How do you appropriately, I guess, follow up?
Usually what I do is I'll reach out with a text message or a phone call. And if it goes to voicemail, I'll give a reasonable amount of time for them to respond. And then I might reach out again. I try to always have a reason for reaching out.
Not just doTERRA.
Right. If I've done that a couple of times, then what I do is I look for an opportunity to get in person. So for example, I had a gentleman that I've been working with here. I bought something from him, and he asked me what I did. I told him doTERRA. I came back to pick up the thing that I purchased from him and get some more accessories and things like that. And he said, "I'm very interested. I've been thinking about what you do, and I want to do it too." And then I asked for permission to contact him, which I kept reaching out, which he never responded to. And so then I went in again, found him, and I asked him if he was still interested face to face. And he said, "Yes, absolutely, I am." So I said, "I'm not bothering you, am I? Can I do this?" And he said, "Yeah, keep bugging me. I'm just super busy." And so which I never got responses to any text. So I let about a year go by, and then I actually needed a tax receipt for the purchase. So I went in and saw him, and he came over immediately, talked to me again, in which that led to an appointment, which led to a meeting, which led to meeting with him and his wife at my home. You know, in other words, I didn't bother him, but I gave him plenty of time to respond, and I always had a reason for contacting him. And then if he wasn't responding to texts or phone calls, then I sought a way to run into them in person.
Awesome.
Face to face. And I do that with people all over the country. There's a guy in Texas, for example, and every time I go through the area, I invite him to breakfast, or, you know,
just connecting.
Last 2 times he has, and that's led to me being able to give him and his wife a kit, and you know, and they're contemplating the business now.
Cool. That's awesome.
Just patience, Kalli, patience.
Well, and again,
class, right?
Patient strategy. I think also, like you said, I like having that excuse to call them, or just reaching out as a good friend, right? And trying different strategies, not prejudging people either. Yeah, some people, maybe minority, are legitimately like hiding from you, maybe, right? But I think even in my case, my upline, she just kept reaching out to me, just, "Hey, how are you doing?" Checking in. Didn't harass me, but I needed that physical contact, and I needed someone to step into my life because I just was bombarded with too much, right? So that's awesome. Okay, is there anything else that you would love to for our audience to know? I'm not saying questions here. Are you guys typing questions?
I see a couple of them on your list here.
And you see, I think we got that one.
There's one here. Question: building from another country. I'm in the UK, but the majority of our contacts are in the US. So doing classes and one-on-ones are difficult. How can I best share and build doTERRA from a distance on a very limited budget? Okay. I would just say to that one, I utilize technology to the best that I can, like Zoom, Facebook Live, having a little Facebook group for your own prospects, a way to stay connected. And then, you know, text messaging. I mean, there's a lot of free options to communicate. And again, if they're willing, move them to face-to-face contacts, which is, you know, if you have a remote team, you want to make sure, even on a limited budget, that you have an excuse to go there at least annually. And it would be better if it was at least twice a year, and even optimally if it was once a quarter. And especially if the team is new. Most of my international building, or most of my in-state building even, I try to be on location at least every other month for new teams. You know, more mature teams, it can be a couple of times a year. But even some of my diamond teams, I'm visiting 2 and 3 times a year.
So how much do you think you're working at this point? Are you still pushing hard? You're probably still building a lot.
Well, Kalli, you're essentially my only appointment this entire week.
Oh my gosh. But then so it sounds like you have a pretty rigorous travel schedule, that you're traveling maybe once or twice a month, but that's when you're working, and then the rest of the time you're off.
Right. Yeah. I've gotten to a point in my business now that my leaders are well trained, and the need for me to be continuously involved in their dealings is not nearly as high demand. Now, the cool thing about that is that's made me very available to new team members that do need me. And it's allowed me to insert or focus on new rising talent that's occurring in those legs. And so I do reach out periodically to specific people that I target inside the team that maybe even way down in rising talent that I give a lot of attention to. And having that kind of space around me allows me to be available.
That's amazing. I like that a lot. Okay, one last question. Let's see. I'm trying to think which one would be the best one to end with. When do you decide to give someone a whole kit? Also, what kind of kits? That's kind of up to the person, right? When do you decide to give someone a whole kit? A whole lot?
I'm super generous. Nobody comes to my house. People leave my house with $200 and $300 worth of product.
But you're very strategic. You're not just giving the whole world, right?
Right. Well, I have a mission. It's my purpose. I'm trying to get people to fall in love with oils, and I could sell an oil, but I really don't care to sell an oil. I care to convert someone to oils. And
that's one of the other questions you're dealing with, where someone is just building their business through retail. Right? Why would you not want to do this? How do you talk to them about not doing that?
About retailing? Well, one is this is not a retailing model. This is a network marketing model. And if you really want to experience the dream of what everything doTERRA has to offer you, then you will become a team builder, not a retailer. And that means you'll master the art of working with people and inspiring people to do great things. And if you do that, you'll have a team, and customers take care of themselves. Remember, we're marketing a membership. And so when somebody becomes a member, they actually are a customer directly with doTERRA. And they're integrated into our networks and things like that. And so retailing is probably the least effective way to make money in all of our compensation strategies.
So just educating them more on the comp plan and how this is set up, probably.
Right.
Okay, well, you have been absolutely amazing. I have pages of notes that I've written down, Rod quotes. I would love to be able to bring value to your team, so let us know if we can ever come in and help you out. We'd love to. But thank you so much for your time, Rod, and we'll catch you again if possible. We'd love to have you.
Lots of Kalli fans on my team, so as soon as you show up on the leaderboard.
Okay, you're in Utah now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're close by. All right, we'd love to stay in touch, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, Rod.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.